cop charged in the death of George Floyd will be in court next Monday. Activists say they will not stop protesting until the other 3 officers are also arrested and charged. This morning, Rev Al Sharpton issued the call to action when he visited Minneapolis on Friday, and he joins me this morning. So good morning to you, Rev Sharpton. Thank you for taking the time on this Monday morning. You know, I understand you say the protest will continue until all 4 officers involved in George Floyd's death are arrested and charged. So I'm curious, you were there this weekend. Is the district attorney even looking into charges against the 3 other officers?
The investigation now and prosecution is now in the hands of not only the district attorney, but with the state attorney general now that has been a member of Congress, Keith Ellison. And I think that he will be looking into that. I think that we can clearly demand, since they were there on the scene, did not stop a criminal act, and did not interfere with the killing of George Floyd, even when he was handcuffed, body left. As you look at the video, the last 2.5 minutes of his life, he was lifeless. And they all stood over him. More than one had put their knee on the lower parts of his body. There's no way they should not be charged, at least as accomplices to murder, since they've already charged the first one with murder. They clearly stood by and accompanied the criminal action that has now been charged only on one officer. They must be charged, and will continue protesting.
How confident are you that the officer who was seen in that video with his knee on George Floyd's neck for multiple minutes, Derek Chauvin, right? He's the one who you're speaking of that was already arrested and charged. How confident are you that he will actually be brought to justice? Because we've seen this play out in the past, especially in the Eric Garner case and with Daniel Pantaleo. How confident are you moving forward?
I'm not confident, and I'm not disillusioned. I am determined that we're going to keep fighting and make sure that these cases are tried fairly, are tried in court, and that we are going to be present. I think that the first thing was to get him arrested, now to get the others charged, and then we must monitor and stay all the way with this family through the prosecution and the trial. So I do not depend on the confidence of the system. I depend on the determination of the people.
Right. And before I get to the protests and demonstrations this weekend, I do want to focus on George Floyd and the family this morning as well, because that is the focal point for all of this. And I don't want people to forget that because of what they're seeing. You know, President Trump reached out to the family, and I'm curious to know if you were able to speak to them about how that conversation went.
The brother, Philonis, told me it was a very brief conversation, and he was frustrated the president really didn't let him talk. So I don't know how you give condolences and not listen to those that you're trying to comfort. In fact, he went on my television show and said that he would not let me talk. I wanted to tell him that I wanted to see all the officers arrested and I wanted murder 1 charges, but he would not let me talk.
Right. Okay, got it. And I want to get your thoughts right now on the fight, obviously, for justice for George Floyd, getting overshadowed now by what we're seeing on the streets. There are 90% peaceful protests going on, right? And that's what we stand for. But then there are these looting and the violence as well happening. What is your message for those folks who are out there doing damage and causing mayhem?
Well, no one is more angry than all of us that have been fighting these issues a long time. And certainly no one is more angry than the family. The anger and the outrage is not only understandable, but justifiable. But separate the marches from those that are now just looting and burning. There are those that are suggesting that there are those on the far left, others saying it's the far right. Whoever they are, they should not in any way get in the become a distraction to the issue of the killing of George Floyd, and that there has been a criminal justice problem going back, Eric Garner, all the way back. And I think that anything that takes away from the cause is something that is suspect. So clearly the family doesn't condone violence. National Action Network and I don't condone violence. We understand the outrage. We're more outraged than anyone. But don't get so outraged that you get in the way of your message.
Yeah, because you look back at the history, right? You were there on the front lines, 1968 with the Chicago riots, 1991 with the Crown Heights riots. This one just feels a little different this time around in terms of what we're seeing out there. I'm curious to know, between the clashes between police and the peaceful protesters, we've also seen that in years past. You have also fought for that for quite some time. You've been calling for stricter guidelines for police in terms of de-escalation. What is your message for the police out there moving forward, being a witness to what you've seen not only yesterday and overnight, but throughout the years?
Why would police want to be aggressive against people who are only asking for good policing? Why do they want to be aggressive against people that are only saying that we want police to be accountable to the law? You cannot be law enforcers and think you're above the law. And when we see right here in New York, I've been arrested many times leading peaceful protests. And now we're seeing people that are doing peaceful protests, members of National Action Network involved in many of them around the country. So I think that police need to step back and understand that citizens have the right to expect that they will uphold the law that they are being paid for and sworn in to protect. I also must give commendment to those that say they understand that. You had police that got on their knees, got on and took a knee for justice. And I think those kind of policemen understand that they're here to serve the people, not the people serve them.
Yeah, especially what we saw with that sheriff in Flint, Michigan, also walked with the people for miles last night. Reverend Sharpton, I appreciate your time this morning and your message. Always good to hear your voice. You're welcome back anytime. Thank you again.
Thank you.